Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Lange Sohne Zeitwerk. This is one of those legendary watches that not everyone loves because it is a design that has an acquired taste, but everyone thinks it's amazing. This is an almost universally respected timepiece. This particular version of the Zeitwerk is the 140.032. That comes in a 18 karat, I think it's pink gold case, but could be rose gold, pink gold. There's versions of the Zeitwerk in various materials, white gold, honey gold. So there's various versions out there, different materials, as well as different sizes, because the Zeitwerk has the sonnerie, there's a minute repeater. There's just a lot of versions of the Zeitwerk because it's super cool, but this is the original one. It comes in a 41.9, not 42, but 41.9 millimeter wide case that sits very nicely on the wrist. It feels quite thick, especially compared to a lot of Lange Sohne watches. That's because the movement is complicated and awesome. The case is 12.6 millimeters thick, and you'll be able to see what that looks like on my wrist. That is what we like to call in the industry movement porn. Wow. Not a lot of people do movements as nicely as Lange Sohne. One of the reasons they look so nice is they're used, the movement is mostly made of something called German silver, which is neither German or silver. It's an alloy of nickel and zinc, I believe. And what's special about it is that unlike brass, it does not need to be rhodium plated or coated or anything like that in order not to tarnish. Most watch movements are primarily brass. And in order to not tarnish, they need to have a coating process because brass, untreated brass, will tarnish. German silver does not. And what that means is because it can be unfinished, you can polish it really nicely. Now, this watch is a few years old now, and you can tell that the German silver has developed a little bit of a patina. So even though German silver doesn't tarnish, it does slightly change colors. And you can see there's sort of a nice patina which is developed here. It's a little bit lighter and not necessarily as dark when it is made and it's right out of the Lange Sohne factory in Glashütte, Germany. This movement is manually wound and it is power hungry. You can see an interesting mainspring barrel there, and you need a lot of force. I can see how I turn it. It's actually quite loud to turn, I'm not sure if you can tell. This movement is complicated because it is a digital minute, digital hour watch. As you can see here, it is a very fascinating layout, and it's sort of inspired by a clock that's similar that exists in the Semper Opera House in Dresden, nearby Glashütte. Now watch what happens when the minute changes. Look closely. Oh, that's a smooth action. That never gets old. There's no hesitation, there's no noise. It's just this silent, beautiful transition because you have two discs to indicate the minutes, one disc for the hours. Up here is a power reserve indicator, and then you have a traditional subsidiary seconds dial, and just an awesome layout. Now, the reason that you need a power reserve indicator on this watch is that, like I said, it uses a lot of power. It does operate at 2.5 hertz, that's 18,000 oscillations per hour. So it's not the fastest operating movement, but this system uses an enormous amount of power to move these discs. I remember when Lange Sohne came out with this, they mentioned that there was some type of a system to ensure a degree of constant force. And the problem with a movement like this could be that as power winds down or when it's fully wound, the watch would operate either a little bit too slow or a little bit too fast, because the torque curve means that at the beginning of this, when it's fully wound up or totally unwound or almost unwound, there's different amounts of power which could change the time. So I think there's a system in the movement to sort of compensate for that, allowing it to operate at a good degree of accuracy, though I don't believe that it has any type of formal remontoire or a constant force escapement system. But as you can see over here, the gearing in here looks unlike pretty much anything else that you'll see. And there is a system here, if you look closely, that accumulates force and then allows it to push with sort of a strong amount of torque in order to move the discs. Adjusting the watch is actually pretty cool. You can adjust it in both directions, backwards or forwards. If you want to change the time very rapidly, you just sort of have to go through the time right like this. I want to show you kind of what it looks like at the end of when the hour changes. It's really cool. Again, this is just a fantastic watch and to wear and to look at. All right, check it out. Oh, so nice. Just an ever so slight click and just a satisfying mechanical operation changing it. Now, I guess one of the most interesting things about wearing this watch as compared to a traditional analog watch is the fact that reading the time is done digitally just as you would in a digital timepiece like a Casio or something like that. And there's a beautiful irony there, right? Because for me, when the Zeitwerk first came out, it was really about being a modern mechanical watch. Lange Sohne is a very classic brand, and that is something that anyone who's a devotee of their work knows. But given the fact that this is digital, adds a certain modern component to the overall theme. And I think that's something which is particularly appealing because we do live in a modern world where timepieces have to exist in lifestyles that are oftentimes dominated by modern devices, modern technology, modern concepts, modern design. And so for me, this is a very fluid blending of tradition and modern sort of looks and themes, even though, like I said, this is based upon a digital clock. It's obviously mechanical in an opera house that was built quite a long time ago. So there's a lot of interesting nuances to the design. You can see that on the wrist at just over 12 millimeters thick on this nice alligator strap, and at just under 42 millimeters wide, it wears very nicely. I think that I feel that some Lange Sohne watches tend to wear a little bit small. There are, of course, plenty of exceptions that wear nicely. For me, I would say 40 millimeters and above is probably the sweet spot. You can get definitely under 40 millimeters for Lange Sohne watches, and I'm not the type of person to wear a suit, so you can see I'm sleeveless, so this makes a little bit more sense for me. So yeah, at that size, this might be a little bit more difficult to fit under sleeve, but again, I don't wear that many sleeves. When I do, they tend to not be so form-fitting. So I think that if you are a little bit more casual, I wouldn't say sporty. It's definitely not a sports watch. There was the luminous version, which was awesome, but this is definitely a way of maintaining a high level of aesthetic sophistication, while at the same time having something a little bit more modern and interesting. Oh, it's going to change again. See how instant it is? It's just fantastic. I could sit there and speak a lot of positive things about this watch. And again, it comes in pink gold, white gold, platinum. And I think that there's been all kinds of limited edition versions of this. Not an inexpensive timepiece. You definitely get what you're paying for, but this is definitely not cheap. This particular version in pink gold retails for $76,200. Price pretty much goes up from there. So this is kind of your entry-level Zeitwerk for sure. If you have the means of just playing one of these or getting one, I highly recommend it. Hand assembled and decorated movement, exquisite finishing, just a fantastic watch, and I was really happy to have an opportunity to play with the Zeitwerk and enjoy it and wear it, and looking at that movement really never gets old. So you can see the full review of the Lange Sohne Zeitwerk on aBlogtoWatch. Thanks.